The first plasma bolt struck New Providence Colony's Eastern Agricultural Dome at 2:47 local time. Dr. Marcus Chen was working late in the Xenobotanical Research Center, surrounded by holographic displays tracking experimental crop adaptations. The massive screens flickered with genetic sequencing when the first tremor hit, not the gentle vibration of machinery, but the deep, bone-rattling impact of orbital bombardment. Incoming. The colony's AI system blared, its synthesized voice cutting through the quiet of the night shift. Unidentified vessels detected. Threat level: Omega. Marcus grabbed his emergency tablet, fingers flying across the surface. Around him, the research center transformed with a precision that would have seemed impossible to any outside observer. Researchers who moments ago had been studying plant genetics now moved with military efficiency. Dr. Aisha Nakamura, a senior botanist, was already reprogramming the hydroponics control systems, her movements a blur of calculated motion. "They're targeting our agricultural infrastructure," Marcus muttered, pulling up satellite imagery. The alien ships were unlike anything in human encounter logs, sleek, obsidian-like vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their attack patterns suggested a species that viewed destruction as a form of surgical precision. Outside, New Providence's landscape began to change. What had been a peaceful agricultural colony became a living, breathing defense mechanism. Massive solar arrays detached from their original mountings, repositioning themselves as makeshift energy shields. Irrigation systems reconfigured into high-pressure coolant networks for emerging defensive emplacements. Commander Elena Rodriguez arrived in the research center, her combat armor a patchwork of standard-issue military tech and locally adapted modifications. A deep scar across her cheek told stories of previous encounters, but her eyes burned with a calculation that went beyond mere military training. "They want to break our food production," she said, not a question but a statement. Typical colonial suppression strategy: starve out the population before the ground assault. Dr. Nakamura looked up from her console. "They don't understand us at all, do they?" A young technician, barely 20, with the colony's first generation born off-world, began retrofitting communication arrays. Spare quantum processors from research equipment were being rewired into jamming systems. An elderly engineer named Wai Zhang was helping, his hands moving with the precision of someone who had spent decades understanding how systems could be reimagined. Marcus watched in awe as the colony responded. Farming drones became makeshift artillery platforms. Hydroponics research equipment transformed into sensor networks. Children who had been sleeping were now helping load ammunition, their movements coordinated by the colony's adaptive AI system. The first wave of alien ground forces expected a soft target. Instead, they found a population that viewed the invasion not as a threat, but as a problem to be solved. Commander Rodriguez's tactical overlay showed the impossible happening in real time. The colonists weren't just defending. They were learning, adapting, transforming the very landscape into a weapon. Crop fields became kill zones. Research equipment became advanced defensive systems. "They think we're just farmers," Dr. Chen said, a hint of dark humor in his voice. "They don't realize every person here is a scientist, an engineer, a potential soldier." The colony's communication systems, normally used for agricultural monitoring and research coordination, now became a weapon of psychological warfare. Encrypted broadcasts began spreading across the alien communication networks, not just tactical information, but complex data packages that would slowly infiltrate and analyze the invaders' own systems. As the first alien dropships descended, they found something entirely unexpected. New Providence wasn't just a colony. It was a living, thinking organism of human potential. Marcus Chen looked out the reinforced window and saw something beautiful and terrifying. Humanity had always been defined by its ability to adapt, to transform, to turn the impossible into the inevitable. The invasion of New Providence was about to become a legendary miscalculation. Commander Rodriguez's voice echoed through the colony's emergency channels. "They came to break us. We're going to teach them what that means. The data burst arrived in the Ziridian Intelligence Network's most secure quantum-encrypted channel at precisely 21:43 Standard Galactic Time. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a military transmission. It was a research paper that would unravel everything the galaxy thought it knew about humanity. Dr. Krelax's holographic image materialized in the central analysis chamber of the Ziridian Xenological Institute. His exoskeleton, normally a rigid, pristine shell of bureaucratic authority, now trembled almost imperceptibly. The chamber's walls were lined with historical records, millennia of galactic civilization compressed into adaptive memory crystals. And now, a single document threatened to rewrite everything. Humanity. A mimetic threat beyond conventional warfare, the title read. Senior analyst Vrixna pulled the document into the primary data stream. Machine intelligences began analyzing its contents, their quantum processors working at speeds that would have melted conventional computing systems. What they found was not a scientific paper. It was a manifesto of existential terror. Krelax's research revealed a horrifying truth. Humans were not just a species. They were a living, evolving information system that defied every known model of cultural and technological development. The paper broke down humanity's unique characteristics with clinical precision. Adaptive cognition. Where most species developed specialized knowledge, humans treated information like a living ecosystem. They didn't just learn, they consumed, transformed, and re-engineered entire paradigms of existence. Technological fluidity. Human innovation wasn't linear. It was explosive, unpredictable, driven by what the paper termed chaotic collaborative potential. A farmer could become an engineer. A child could solve problems that had stymied entire research civilizations for centuries. Cultural transmission. Most critically, human ideas spread like a virulent, intelligent organism. Their concepts, technologies, and social structures didn't just propagate. They mutated, adapted, and found unexpected vectors of transmission. Ambassador Trilk of the Rigelian Conclave watched the analysis in real time. His diplomatic training had prepared him for countless scenarios. But this was different. This was a fundamental challenge to everything the galactic community understood about intelligent life. They're not a species, Trilk whispered. They're a conceptual infection. The research traced humanity's trajectory through recent galactic conflicts. The New Providence incident was just the latest example. In each encounter, humans transformed the very nature of conflict. Where other species saw fixed resources and territorial boundaries, humans saw problems to be solved, systems to be reimagined. Deep in the Ziridian archives, historical records began to shift. Previous encounters with humanity were recontextualized. That diplomatic mission that resolved a 1,000-year conflict between the neural consensus and the biomechanical hegemony. Not a negotiation, and complete systemic redesign. The technological innovations were equally terrifying. Humanity's quantum communication arrays didn't just transmit information. They predicted potential conflict patterns with an accuracy that bordered on precognition. Their medical technologies could adapt faster than any known pathogen. Their energy systems could stabilize dying stars as a mere side project. But the most chilling revelation was cultural. Humans didn't conquer. They integrated. They transformed. They saw every challenge as an opportunity for collective reimagining. Vrixna's analysis concluded with a probability matrix that made even the most advanced Ziridian intelligence systems hesitate. The chance of humanity becoming a dominant galactic force was not just high, it was inevitable. We are not dealing with a species, the final analysis read. We are witnessing the emergence of a new form of collective intelligence. Ambassador Trilk's communication device chirped. A transmission from the Interstellar Council's emergency channel. The message was short, encrypted, but its implications were clear. Humanity must be understood, or humanity must be stopped. Dr. Krelax, reviewing the final version of his report, allowed himself a moment of dark humor. Most researchers would fear such a conclusion. He was fascinated. Humanity was not a threat to be contained. Humanity was a potential to be understood. And that potential was infinitely more dangerous. The Interstellar Council Chamber was a marvel of architectural design, a massive spherical space that could simultaneously accommodate the unique atmospheric, gravitational, and perceptual requirements of 17 different sapient species. Holographic displays wrapped around the chamber like a living skin, pulsing with data streams that represented the most advanced information networks in known space. Today, those networks screamed with a single, terrifying message: humanity. Arch-Chancellor Zornak of the Quantum Collective materialized first, his quantum-entangled consciousness projecting a form that was part energy, part solid matter. His very existence was a testament to technological evolution, and yet he looked almost primitive compared to the threat they were discussing. The New Providence incident is not an isolated event. Zornak began, his voice a symphony of harmonic frequencies that translated simultaneously for every species present. It is a systemic failure of our collective intelligence. The holographic displays began to unfold humanity's trajectory. Each encounter, each interaction, became a living map of exponential complexity. Where other species saw linear progress, humanity created fractals of innovation. Representative Kethax of the biomechanical hegemony shifted uncomfortably. Their body was a perfect fusion of organic tissue and quantum computing, and yet they felt something close to biological fear. The human capacity for technological adaptation exceeds all predictive models, Kethax reported. Their ability to repurpose existing systems is not just innovative, it's viral. The Neural Consensus Representative, a collective intelligence that spoke with thousands of synchronized voices, offered a different perspective. Containment is not the answer, they intoned. Integration may be possible. Humanity represents a unique cognitive ecosystem. Ambassador Trilk of the Rigelian Conclave stepped forward, bringing with him the latest intelligence from Dr. Krulak's research. The holographic displays shifted, showing human adaptations that defied conventional understanding. A farming drone becoming an artillery platform. A communication array transformed into a jamming system. Children loading ammunition with the precision of trained soldiers. Each image was a testament to something beyond mere technological adaptation. It was a fundamental reimagining of possibility. We are facing a species that does not understand the word impossible, Trilk said, his diplomatic training barely masking the tremor in his voice. The debate erupted into a cacophony of possibilities. The Arch-Chancellor proposed total war, a preemptive strike that would neutralize human expansion before it could become uncontrollable. Massive fleet deployments, targeted ecological disruption, complete isolation of human territories. The biomechanical hegemony suggested a more surgical approach, computational quarantine. Develop systems that could predict and neutralize human technological innovation before it could spread. The Neural Consensus argued for study and potential integration. They saw humanity not as a threat, but as the most fascinating cognitive mutation in galactic history. But it was the transmission that arrived mid-debate that silenced everyone. The video feed from New Providence Colony. A 12-year-old human child, her face covered in dust and engine grease, looked directly into the camera. Behind her, the colony that should have been destroyed was transforming itself into a fortress with terrifying efficiency. "We are not your victims," she said, her voice carrying a weight that transcended her years. "We are your warning." The child's name, they would later learn, was Sofia Rodriguez, daughter of Commander Elena Rodriguez, and a living embodiment of humanity's adaptive spirit. Zornak's quantum consciousness flickered, a rare moment of uncertainty for a being typically defined by absolute computational precision. "We are dealing with something beyond a species," he said quietly. "We are witnessing the emergence of a new form of collective intelligence." The holographic displays began to compile a comprehensive threat assessment. But threat was the wrong word. Humanity was not something to be measured, contained, or fought. Humanity was a potential to be understood, and that potential was about to change everything. Representative Kithax made a decision that would echo through galactic history. We need a new approach. The Interstellar Council had just realized that their oldest assumptions were about to be completely rewritten. The Terra Horizon Research Complex wasn't a military installation. It wasn't even officially a government facility. To any external observer, it looked like a collaborative academic campus, a sprawling network of laboratories, open-air research domes, and interconnected learning spaces that defied traditional architectural logic. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the central nexus, surrounded by holographic displays that shifted and breathed like living ecosystems of data. Her team was unlike any scientific group in human history, a deliberate blend of disciplines that would have been considered incompatible in any other context. Dr. Marcus Chen, the xenobiologist from New Providence, worked alongside Dr. Aisha Nakamura and a collective of researchers that included former military strategists, quantum physicists, cultural anthropologists, and even children who had shown extraordinary adaptive capabilities. Project Prometheus isn't just a technological initiative, Elena explained to the gathered researchers. It's a comprehensive reimagining of how we interact with potential threats. The first breakthrough came from an unexpected collaboration. A team of environmental engineers, working with quantum computing specialists and xenolinguists, developed a communication array that did more than transmit information. It could predict conflict patterns with an accuracy that bordered on precognition. Dr. Nakamura demonstrated the system's capabilities. The holographic display showed multiple potential galactic conflict scenarios, with probability matrices that shifted in real time. Where traditional predictive systems would show fixed outcomes, this network revealed a living, breathing map of potential interactions. "We're not just analyzing," she said. "We're creating a dynamic conversation with potential futures." The Nano-Adaptive Armor Project pushed the boundaries of what was considered possible. Unlike traditional defensive technologies, these systems didn't just protect. They learned. Each impact, each interaction became data. The armor could reconfigure at the molecular level, adapting not just to physical threats, but to the very intention behind an attack. A young researcher named Jin Wei showed a demonstration. A prototype armor system was subjected to a series of increasingly complex attack simulations. With each iteration, the armor didn't just defend. It anticipated, redirected, and ultimately transformed the very nature of the threat. But the most revolutionary project was something entirely unexpected. The energy stabilization research wasn't a military project. It was a side initiative that had grown from humanity's inherent curiosity. A team of astrophysicists, working with xenoecological specialists, had developed a method to stabilize dying stars, a problem that had defeated every known galactic civilization for millennia. "We're not just solving a technical challenge," Dr. Chen explained. "We're rewriting the fundamental understanding of stellar mechanics." The implications were staggering. This wasn't just a technological breakthrough. It was a complete reimagining of how intelligent species could interact with the universe itself. Project Prometheus had a deeper philosophy. Each technological development wasn't just a solution to a problem. It was an invitation to a different kind of conversation. Elena Rodriguez understood something fundamental. Humanity's strength wasn't in destruction. It was in transformation. The final briefing came with a transmission from the colony worlds. The young girl from New Providence, Sophia Rodriguez, appeared on the holographic display. She wasn't just reporting. She was presenting a comprehensive analysis of potential alien interaction strategies that would have impressed the most senior diplomatic corps. "We are not preparing for war," Sophia said, her voice carrying a wisdom beyond her years. "We are creating the conditions where war becomes unnecessary." The research team exchanged looks. This was more than a technological initiative. This was a fundamental reimagining of species-level interaction. Outside the Terra Horizon complex, the landscape itself seemed to pulse with potential. Solar arrays that could reconfigure themselves. Communication networks that could predict and neutralize potential conflicts before they emerge. Medical technologies that could adapt faster than any known pathogen. Humanity wasn't just developing technologies. Humanity was becoming a living, adaptive system. And the galaxy was about to understand the true meaning of potential. The invasion fleet was a marvel of galactic engineering. 50,000 ships, representing the combined military might of 5 major galactic powers, moved through space like a metallic storm. Each vessel was a testament to centuries of technological refinement: quantum-shielded hulls, adaptive energy weapons, computational systems that could process entire star systems in milliseconds. Admiral Correx of the biomechanical hegemony stood on the command deck of the flagship Eternal Judgment. Holographic displays tracked their approach to the targeted human colony cluster. Intelligence reports suggested a vulnerable agricultural settlement, an easy target to demonstrate the futility of human resistance. What they didn't know was that Project Prometheus had been waiting for exactly this moment. The first sign that something was wrong came milliseconds after their quantum drives engaged for the final approach. Communication networks began to behave strangely. Not a traditional jamming signal, something far more intricate. Each ship's primary systems started receiving data packages, not weapons, not viruses. Information. Comprehensive, multilayered information that began to rewrite the very fundamental understanding of the vessel's operational parameters. On the Eternal Judgment, Admiral Correx watched in growing horror as the ship's tactical displays transformed. Where weapon systems should have been primed for attack, they now displayed complex mathematical proofs. Navigation systems began solving centuries-old scientific problems that had stymied entire research civilizations. The communication arrays became something else entirely. Each ship began receiving a systematic deconstruction of the strategic and philosophical errors that led to this invasion. It wasn't just data. It was a comprehensive educational assault. Commander Elena Rodriguez's voice cut through every communication channel. Not a threat. Not a warning. An invitation to understanding. "You came believing you understood conflict," she said. "We're going to show you something different." Project Prometheus wasn't a defensive system. It was a comprehensive reimagining of interaction. Each alien ship found its quantum drives reconfigured into elaborate puzzles. Weapon systems became interactive learning modules. Communication networks transformed into recursive loops of human scientific and cultural achievements. On the bridge of the Eternal Judgment, Admiral Correx realized something terrifying. They were not being attacked. They were being educated. The youngest crew member on the flagship, a junior navigation specialist named Vixna, began to cry. Not from fear, but from an overwhelming sensation of comprehension. The data packages weren't just information. They were a complete systemic breakdown of the cultural and strategic assumptions that had led to this moment. Tactical Officer Zorn tried to engage weapon systems. Instead, the controls transformed into an interactive simulation of human problem-solving techniques. Quantum shields became transparent, revealing the intricate internal systems of the ships, not as a vulnerability, but as an invitation to understanding. Humanity had weaponized knowledge itself. Each ship received a personalized data package, cultural insights, technological blueprints, a brutal, clinical analysis of the philosophical and strategic errors that led to the conflict. It was less a punishment and more a total systemic deconstruction of the invasionary forces' worldviews. "We are not here to destroy you." Commander Rodriguez's transmission continued. "We are here to help you understand why destruction is no longer a viable strategy." The invasion fleet, the most powerful armada ever assembled in galactic history, found itself completely neutralized. Not through conventional warfare. Through a form of conflict that didn't even recognize traditional definitions of conflict. Admiral Correx's final log entry was a single line that would be studied for generations. "They didn't defeat us. They reimagined the very concept of defeat." As the last data package finished transmission, the 50,000 ships hung in space, disabled but unharmed, transformed from a weapon of war into the largest impromptu educational platform in galactic history. Humanity had just demonstrated that the most powerful weapon was not destruction. It was understanding. The detention zone stretched across 3 stellar systems, not a prison, but a living, breathing classroom unlike anything in galactic history. 50,000 ships, their quantum drives neutralized, became the largest educational platform ever conceived. Dr. Marcus Chen stood on the observation deck of the human research vessel Horizon, watching the alien fleet with a mixture of scientific fascination and profound empathy. Beside him, Commander Elena Rodriguez reviewed the preliminary data streams, her tactical mind already several steps ahead of conventional thinking. "This isn't punishment," Elena said, more to herself than to Chen. "This is intervention." The first wave of interactive modules began transmitting. Each ship received a personalized learning experience that targeted the specific cultural, technological, and philosophical blind spots of its crew. It wasn't about humiliation. It was about comprehensive understanding. On the Eternal Judgment, Admiral Crex found himself trapped in an immersive simulation that defied everything he knew about conflict resolution. The ship's primary systems had transformed into an adaptive learning environment that was equal parts technological training, cultural exchange, and psychological deconstruction. The simulation began with the most unexpected approach possible. A young human researcher, Sofia Rodriguez, now 12 years old, appeared as a holographic instructor. Her presence was disarming. Where the aliens expected a military interrogation, they found a child who spoke with the wisdom of generations. "Let's talk about why you're here," Sofia began, her holographic image shifting to show the complex historical context of the invasion. Not as an accusation, but as a collaborative investigation. The first module dismantled the fundamental assumptions that had led to the invasion. Historical records were presented not as static facts, but as living, interconnected narratives. The aliens watched as their own cultural biases were gently, systematically exposed. Vixna, the junior navigation specialist who had cried during the initial encounter, found herself at the center of a breakthrough. The learning modules weren't just presenting information. They were creating a dialogue. Every response, every moment of reflection became part of the learning process. Dr. Chen explained the philosophy to the human research team. "We're not trying to defeat them," he said. "We're trying to help them defeat their own limitations." Each ship received a customized curriculum. Technological modules that reimagined resource management. Cultural exchange programs that challenged existing social structures. Philosophical simulations that broke down traditional conflict paradigms. Problem-solving scenarios that emphasized collaborative innovation. The biomechanical hegemony ships found their computational systems challenged by human problem-solving techniques that defied their most advanced algorithmic models. Where they expected linear solutions, they found adaptive, non-linear approaches that transformed entire systems of thinking. Admiral Crex's personal module was particularly intense. A comprehensive deconstruction of leadership models revealed the fundamental flaws in their approach to galactic diplomacy. Not as a criticism, but as an invitation to reimagine possibility. "Conflict is a failure of imagination," Sophia's holographic instructor would repeat, "and imagination is our most powerful resource." The truly revolutionary aspect wasn't the information itself. It was the method of transmission. Each learning module was adaptive, changing in real time based on the responses and psychological profiles of the individual crews. Dr. Elena Rodriguez monitored the process with a strategic precision that went beyond traditional military thinking. "We're not just neutralizing a threat," she told the research team. "We're creating potential allies." By the third standard week, something extraordinary began to happen. The alien ships started to communicate with each other, not through traditional communication channels, but through the shared experience of their unexpected education. Vixna, once a junior navigation specialist, began developing collaborative problem-solving protocols that would have been unimaginable in their previous social structure. The junior crew members became the most adaptive learners, breaking down the rigid hierarchical systems that had defined their civilization. On the observation deck, Dr. Chen turned to Elena Rodriguez with a look of profound realization. "We're not just changing how they think," he said. "We're showing them how to think." The unexpected curriculum was transforming more than just a fleet of ships. It was reimagining the very concept of civilization. The Interstellar Council chamber had never been silent like this before. 50,000 holographic feeds from the detained invasion fleet transformed the spherical chamber into a living, breathing mosaic of transformation. Each screen showed a different moment of revelation. Alien crews engaged in collaborative problem-solving. Young officers reimagining entire social structures. Entire species unlearning millennia of rigid thinking. Ambassador Trilk of the Rigelian Conclave stood at the central podium, his diplomatic exoskeleton flickering with unprecedented emotional complexity. The transmission they were about to make would redefine galactic civilization. "We are not requesting assistance," Trilk began, his voice carrying the weight of a fundamental paradigm shift. "We are requesting guidance." The words were simple. The implication was revolutionary. An entire advanced civilization was asking humanity, a species they had tried to destroy mere weeks ago, to help them understand themselves. Dr. Krelax, the Zoridian cynoanthropologist whose initial research had first identified humanity's unique cognitive potential, sat in the observation chamber. His exoskeleton was configured in a posture of what could only be described as academic excitement. This was more than a diplomatic moment. This was a species-level evolutionary breakthrough. The holographic displays began to show the comprehensive data from the educational intervention. It wasn't just about the invasion fleet. It was a complete deconstruction of galactic conflict paradigms. The neural consensus representative, a collective intelligence that typically spoke in perfect computational harmony, now seemed to struggle with emotional complexity. "We did not understand," they said, their thousands of synchronized voices breaking into something close to individual tones. "We saw potential threat. We did not see potential collaboration." Vrixna, the junior navigation specialist from the Eternal Judgment, appeared as a live witness. Her testimony would become a historic document, studied across multiple civilizations. She described not a military defeat, but a profound personal transformation. "We came to destroy," she said, her translation algorithms struggling to capture the nuance of her emotional state. "We learned to understand." The data was staggering. The educational intervention had not just neutralized a military threat. It had created a comprehensive blueprint for interspecies collaboration that made previous diplomatic models look like primitive tribal negotiations. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, watching from the Terra Horizon Research Complex, understood something fundamental. This wasn't about winning a conflict. This was about expanding the very definition of potential. The biomechanical hegemony's representative presented a comprehensive analysis. Their computational systems had been completely restructured. Where they once saw conflict as a zero-sum game, they now saw collaborative problem-solving as the primary mode of interaction. "Humanity did not defeat us," the representative stated. "Humanity helped us defeat our own limitations." Ambassador Trilok's transmission to Earth carried a request that would have been unimaginable weeks earlier. Collaborative research initiatives, cultural exchange programs, the complete reimagining of galactic diplomatic structures. "We are not asking for mercy," the transmission read. "We are asking for partnership." Dr. Marcus Chen, reviewing the initial data streams, turned to Commander Rodriguez with a look of profound realization. "They're not just asking for help," he said. "They're asking to be transformed." The young Sofia Rodriguez, who had been the holographic instructor for much of the educational intervention, watched the proceedings with a wisdom that belied her years. She understood something that most seasoned diplomats had missed. True power wasn't about destruction. It was about potential. In the Terra Horizon Research Complex, a new initiative was already taking shape. Not a military response, not a diplomatic mission. A comprehensive approach to interspecies collaboration that would redefine the very concept of civilization. The Interstellar Council's transmission became a turning point in galactic history. They were not surrendering. They were evolving. and humanity had just become the catalyst for that evolution. By 2400, the galaxy looked nothing like it had just decades earlier. The Terra Horizon complex had become more than a research facility. It was the epicenter of a galactic transformation that defied every previous model of civilization. Where diplomatic outposts once stood, collaborative research zones now flourished, living ecosystems of knowledge that merged the unique capabilities of multiple species. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the central observation deck, watching a demonstration that would have been impossible just years before. Representatives from 17 different species worked together on a comprehensive stellar restoration project. The Zoridian quantum engineers worked alongside biomechanical computational specialists, while human researchers provided the adaptive framework that allowed their distinctly different cognitive approaches to synchronize. Sofia Rodriguez, now a lead researcher in her mid-20s, was presenting the latest iteration of the Harmony Protocol. It was more than a diplomatic strategy. It was a complete reimagining of interspecies collaboration. "We're not creating a unified system," Sofia explained to the gathered representatives. "We're creating a living, adaptive network that grows through understanding." The holographic displays showed something extraordinary. Where previous galactic models had been hierarchical and rigid, this new approach was fractal, dynamic, constantly reshaping itself. Each species contributed its unique cognitive strengths. Humans provided the adaptive framework. The neural consensus offered computational complexity. The biomechanical hegemony brought structural innovation. Dr. Marcus Chen, now leading xenocultural integration research, explained the profound shift. "We didn't defeat our potential enemies," he said. "We helped them defeat their own limitations." The Stellar Restoration Project became a metaphor for the entire galactic transformation. A dying star system that would have been abandoned in previous eras was now a collaborative resurrection project. The Rigelian energy specialists had developed quantum stabilization techniques. The human researchers provided adaptive implementation strategies. The Zoridian computational systems created predictive models that allowed for unprecedented precision. Admiral Krex, once the leader of the invasion fleet, now a key diplomatic liaison, presented a comprehensive analysis of the transformation. The holographic display showed the complete metamorphosis of galactic interaction models. "We came with destruction," Krex said, their computational language translating with remarkable emotional nuance. "We discovered collaboration." The Harmony Protocol wasn't just a diplomatic strategy. It was a living, evolving approach to collective problem-solving that transformed every interaction. Conflict resolution became a collaborative design challenge. Technological development became a shared exploration. Vrixna, who had been a junior navigation specialist during the initial invasion, now led an interspecies research initiative focused on adaptive cognitive development. Her team represented the true potential of the new galactic model. Young researchers from multiple species, working together with a flexibility that would have been unimaginable decades earlier. Dr. Kralak's original research paper, Humanity, a mimetic threat beyond conventional warfare, was now studied as a foundational text of galactic transformation. What had once been seen as a threat was now understood as an invitation to collective evolution. The Terra Horizon complex had become something more than a research facility. It was a living testament to the power of comprehensive understanding. Sofia Rodriguez looked out over the collaborative research zones and understood something profound. This wasn't about human victory. This was about collective potential. A transmission arrived from the most distant human colony, a message that captured the essence of their approach. "We are not here to lead. We are here to help you lead yourselves." The Stellar Restoration Project reached its final phase. A star that would have died, consuming entire planetary systems, was now being carefully, collaboratively restored. Each species contributed its unique capabilities. The result was something greater than any individual civilization could have achieved. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, reviewing the final project reports, turned to her daughter with a look of profound realization. "We didn't change the galaxy," Sofia said, completing her mother's unspoken thought. We helped the galaxy change itself. In the archives of the Interstellar Council, a simple note was added to all historical records. Humanity was never a threat to be contained. They were a potential to be unleashed. The galaxy continued to evolve, and humanity remained its most unexpected catalyst.